Now, this morning, I'm excited to bring you an exclusive conversation, AM exclusive, with the Acting Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission in the person of Mr. Mensah Thompson. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you. Many thanks for having me.
It's good to see you. How has it been in your position? How long has it been and how is it going?
A few months.
Yeah.
We'll do the best that we can. The needs of Ghanaians and the expectations are really high on us. And it's not just what one institution is doing, but collectively what we are all doing to achieve the vision of His Excellency the President, who campaigned extensively across the country, consulted extensively, and couched a message that resonates well with the people of this country, and so got an overwhelming endorsement. That endorsement comes with a lot of responsibility. It comes with a lot of action. And every appointee of His Excellency the President understands this huge responsibility placed on us.
Okay.
And we are working assiduously to ensure that the ultimate benefit is to the Ghanaian.
Okay. Now, I know that the Securities and Exchange Commission is the regulator of Ghana's capital market, right? So in terms of regulation and supervision, protection of investors, licensing of capital market operators, promotion of fair, efficient capital markets, and enforcement of our security laws, and of course, investigation of market strengths and all that. So I want to start from, maybe you can walk us through the SEC's current priorities and an assessment of what the atmosphere really is right now.
Yes. First of all, let me just tell viewers, because I see a lot of confusion, and very little is known about the Securities and Exchange Commission in the country.
Which is very important.
Yes.
That's why we have this conversation.
And when you engage people, you realize a lot of people don't know what the SEC does. The SEC regulates the capital market. So if you take the financial sector, we have the money market and the capital market. So the money market is where you find the Central Bank of Ghana regulating the bank's exchanges of money, fiat currency, and what have you. Then you have the capital market. That is where people raise money for investment. So
and
that
stocks
is
and the rest.
so that is where people who have surpluses invest their money, and these monies must go into investment into other areas that will grow the economy. So that businesses can go and access this capital to be able to invest in their business. So the financial sector is regulated by the Central Bank, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the National Insurance Commission, and then the NPRA, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, who deals with pensions. A huge chunk of the work in the financial sector is done by the SEC. Even though the SEC is one of the under-resourced state institutions, the responsibility on the SEC is huge. And we saw that when we experienced the recent debt exchange program, the DDEP. It really tested the capacity of SEC. And so basically, the SEC regulate, license. So for example, if you want to perform any investment activity in this country, so investment activity could be a fund management. You want to be able to manage funds. It could be pension funds. It could be unit trust. It could be a collective investment scheme. It could be a real estate investment trust. You need clearance. That is a license from the SEC. Then we have the fixed income market. If you want to be able to sell bonds, so other government bonds where we have the primary dealers buy and go and sell it to on the secondary market. So that one too is regulated by the SEC. Then we have the equities market. That is the stock exchange, where equity is traded. So people who have shares in companies go there and trade these shares to make some returns. Then you have, so that one, you have the stock exchange, then we have the alternative exchange. Then we have the commodities exchange, where various commodities are traded. So you have other crops and other, commodities are traded. And all these sector is supposed to create what we call an investment pool that resources can flow. So for example, so people who have money and have no use for the money now can put their money into these instruments, so that people who need the money to invest in businesses, so that government who need the money to also for development can access these funds. And so our job mainly is to protect the people who have these surplus of funds, who put it into these various investment instruments.
Okay.
So
it's getting clearer now.
So you make the rules. So for example, you want to manage somebody's, you want to be a fund management company. You want to collect somebody's savings and invest and pay returns on the person. You cannot just go about and collect people's money. You need to go to the SEC. The SEC will have a number of checklists that you go through. The SEC will be satisfied that indeed you are credible, you have the capacity to manage the funds, you have enough systems in place, such as your corporate governance system, to be able to prevent arbitrariness and misuse of public people's investment and what have you.
Okay. So that's on what you do, your mandate, your priorities. You mentioned, though, that the SEC is, you do the chunk of the work in the capital market, yet you are under-resourced. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by being under-resourced, and how does that impact your work?
Well, if you look at the financial sector players, NPRA, Central Bank, the Bank of Ghana, the NIC, the National Insurance Commission, and then SEC. SEC is the poorest among them all. Unfortunately, we does a huge chunk of the work. And so,
why is that? Why are you the poorest? Why are you the one who's under-resourced if you're doing all this work?
Well, I think a lot of them are legacy issues. And so that's why, that's what the new leadership is looking at. So fundamentally, how are we going to resource the SEC to be able to achieve its mandate, to sanitize the capital market, protect investment, to ensure that we don't get back to DDEP days, to make sure that fund management companies and investment companies do not collapse unnecessarily. So it's a huge work. And so we've prioritized the issue of how to improve on the finances of the Securities and Exchange Commission. We've done a lot of work with both with the Ministry of Finance and in the coming days, some new resource streams. The SEC will be having access to the new resource streams that will improve on its work. And
new resource streams different from the investment pool, right?
No,
completely different. So where is it coming from? No, you mean resource for you to do your mandate, your administrative work, your other functions?
We don't own the investment. The investment activities are private activities. We are regulators, but we have streams of income. We have fees, levies that we charge. We have licensing fees that we collect, and all those things that
which is not enough.
Yes,
which is why you are under-resourced.
Yes, which is under-resourced. But we've been able to work on a few additional streams of income which our law require us to collect, such as such as fees on pension assets, which NPRA collects, and SEC is supposed to get a portion of it, because we license the custodians. Before the NPRA will give you a license to be able to play in the pension sector, you must be licensed first by the SEC. And so we're also a player in the pensions market as well.
Before now, you weren't getting this percentage?
No, we weren't getting these
Why
monies.
Was that? And since when has the new maybe law or policy taken effect?
Well, it was in the law, but it has not been implemented before. Okay. It was in the law. I think attempts were made to implement it, but it wasn't. But I think now we've been able to reach some consensus on that. But apart from that, we are still engaging the ministry and other stakeholders to ensure how we can fully resource the Securities and Exchange Commission to be able to achieve its mandate.
How are you strengthening your oversight of fund managers? especially considering the past issues we've had. You mentioned DDDB and the rest. And of course, we'll talk about how you've been able to recover after the financial sector cleanup and all that. But as managers of funds, how are you able to do your work expeditiously without the needed funds that you have? Does that not breed corruption and possibly theft and all these things we keep seeing around? You manage money. You need to be able to be well-resourced, that you're not looking at the money that it's not yours, it's for private sector. So how are you managing it? I'm really curious on how you can reconcile that. On one breath, you say you're under-resourced, but in the other breath, your core mandate is to manage funds. License people, all that.
No, we don't manage funds. Let me be clear on that. We are regulators. We don't manage funds.
Oversight of fund managers.
We regulate people who manage funds.
Okay.
We regulate companies who manage people's investments and funds. So we don't.
So you're not directly managing the funds.
We don't manage. But
you're managing the people who manage the funds.
But we ensure that when you put your money in a fund management company, the person manages the funds. We have guidelines that the person must stick to. So we ensure that the person sticks to those guidelines. So that's what we do.
I know you just took office a few months ago, but I'm just curious, how is it possible that you can perform all these functions and you don't have the means to do it? How are they managing?
Well, I didn't say we don't have the means to do it.
You don't have adequate funds to do,
yes,
to do that?
Because there's more room for improvement in a lot of the work that we do. If you look at the number of fund management companies that we have, currently there are about 80 fund management companies, right, scattered across the country. We need to do on-site inspection of these fund management companies. You know, we need to get reports from these. We need to send our people to check and ensure that they are doing the right things. Okay. So
these were the functions that were inhibited because of the lack of adequate funds.
They are not. Yes, it's not just that. It's not just that. I don't want you to just single out one activity. So I'm just saying that if you look at the capital market, it's a very delicate sector, and it has a lot of compliance obligations as a regulator. So you need a lot of resources. The regulator always has to be a step ahead of the market. That is not just even about monitoring or surveillance. It's also about market infrastructure. Okay, for example.
Intelligence, I assume.
For example, the Ghana Stock Exchange. Currently, as we speak, the SEC doesn't have infrastructure to monitor trades on the exchange. Okay, so what you do basically is to get post-trading data and analyze so you can identify the CFT issues, the AML issues, and also the risk issues, the insider trading activities. But then, if you have the necessary infrastructure, then you can be able to sit in your office and in real time have access to some of these trade data, analyze it, and be able to flag out the vulnerabilities and the issues that come up with. So it is not just one activity. It's the entire mandate of the SEC. How huge the mandate is, that requires a lot of investment to be able to properly achieve these mandates and ensure stability in the capital market. Because, and again, the capital market provides a lot of opportunities. And it's one of the things I really want to talk about, because I realize that most of our businessmen and investors are used to the money market. They go to the banks to borrow at high interest rates. Currently, pension funds alone under management is about 60 billion. Okay? A huge chunk of these monies are
60 billion what?
Ghana cedis, under over 60 billion Ghana cedis. Those are just pension funds under management. Okay? Now, these funds must be invested, okay, so that they will be able to pay returns, so that when people go to retirement, they can be able to access their money. Good. And so we have the pension fund managers, we have the trustees who manage these funds. Currently, you realize that a huge chunk of these funds go into government securities. In effect, they lend this money to government. Okay? The question is, how is the SME sector, the private businesses able to benefit from these funds that are under management. Because previously, we were told that government securities were the safest. DDEP has taught us a different lesson. And so now, the new mandate of the current leadership of SEC is how do we bring out these different innovative products and instruments on the market. It's what we call market development. It's also one of our mandates. How do we create the pipelines so that funds can flow from these avenues to SMEs, to businesses, and even to capital investment of government, such as the Big Push, which is one of government's key initiatives of driving infrastructure development in the country. And so it's a whole lot of work and thinking that is going into it. And in the coming days, there will be the results will be clear for people to see the amount of work we are putting in to be able to show we achieve some of these things.
Let's stay on the markets development bit. And I want to piggyback from something you just said about new innovations. With the rise of fintechs and digital platforms, how are you maybe also innovating to accommodate these new innovations, especially how it trickles down to SMEs, so that everyone is not just doing things disjointedly? What's the strategy here?
So currently, the SEC, together with the Bank of Ghana, is developing the virtual assets bill. So it's a bill that is going to regulate how virtual assets are managed in the country. And so, as we speak, we are in Akosombo doing a stakeholder engagements with the Bank of Ghana on the bill. Once the bill is passed, guidelines will be issued on how to bring all these virtual assets that are on operation under regulation, so that we can sanitize the market and reduce a lot of the fraudulent activities that is happening. Internally at SEC also, we are currently working on the guidelines for forest trading, which is also one of the areas that will create a lot of opportunity for our young people who are into this forest trading. And we'll be licensing and providing the regulation on how these activities will go on and how it will create a lot of, liquidity on the market as well. And so those are some of the things that we are putting in place. Again, there are other products such as tokenization also is being worked on other assets. There are other gold-backed assets that are being developed. We're currently also looking at how to increase the number of commodities that are traded on the commodities exchange and see how even if gold can also be traded. I mean, we're looking at ways to improve liquidity on the exchange as well. Okay, and generally measures and systems in place that will protect the gains we've made already, but most importantly, provide an avenue for innovation. We understand that, mostly the jobs as regulators has always been, to climb down on innovation, to climb down on market development, but we have a totally different approach. Okay. We want the market to develop, but how do we work in hand with the market operators to be able to ensure that we develop the market without necessarily violating the rules and ensuring the sanctity and protecting the investor? What's
interesting is you're asking yourself the questions I want to ask you, because the purpose of this conversation is to educate us, right, on what you do and how it helps us. You mentioned the virtual assets bill. Yep. What is the timeline on that?
So, like I said, we are currently at the engagement stage. So now we have a draft bill.
Okay.
What we're doing now is to engage with the stakeholders in the market who are going to be affected by the rules of this bill to get their input before a finalized draft will be validated.
They say Ghana's capital market is relatively shallow. And so I'm glad to hear you say you're doing things or you're trying to innovate to, bring more liquidity to the space. So let's talk about how you protect these investors, right? And I know that one of the key things anyone checks out before investing is whether or not their money is safe. So what systems are in place for handling investor complaints and monitoring compliance, especially on how you can boost their confidence? Because you cannot get your liquidity if your investors don't feel safe enough to come and put their money wherever they have to put it.
So protecting investors is
And be as specific as possible, because I want to understand so that our audience can also follow.
Protecting investment is at the top of the priority of the SEC. And so in the last few days, you've seen us issue press statements on warning customers on various investment activities. Here's what we've done. If you go to the SEC website, we have various avenues where people can reach us. And what we do is we encourage people, if you want to invest, please reach out to the SEC. The name of the company, is this company licensed with you? Once we tell you that the company is licensed with us and is in good standing, you can proceed. So we have a program which we call the Time with the SEC, where we go around the various regions. Just 2 weeks ago, we were in Ho, we were in the Volta region. We went to Ho and Duje. We went to Duje Penny Secondary School to educate people on these fraudulent investment schemes. First of all, to understand what investment really is and why they must invest, and to point out the red flags in these investment schemes that surface, and open our doors, our phone lines. We have a toll-free number where anytime you want to do any investment activity, you can reach out to the SEC. Also, we have complaint session where if you have made an investment with any fund management company and you've made a redemption request and they are not performing, you can complain to the SEC. The SEC will call the person to come and tell us why you've placed a redemption request and they have not honored that request.
Okay, so what about whistleblowing then? I mean, so 1, to check the credibility of the company. 2, to complain if you're not being treated fairly. How about whistleblowers? Someone, for example, spots that there's something fishy going on in the company.
Yes.
Can they call? Are there mechanisms in place for that?
Yes, they do all the time. And we receive mails and complaints about people. So just last week, we had a whistleblower information in that some people were conducting an investment seminar in the northern region. We sent a team from our office who went there, and in operations with IOCO, we were able to arrest 4 people, including 3 Rwandan nationals who had come into the country and perpetrating all manner of fraudulent activities in the northern sector. And they are targeting these rural communities because of access to information and what have you. And so we are very much upbeat on protecting the market. But most importantly, we are focusing more on ensuring compliance, that our market operators stick to the rules of engagement, they don't violate the laws in the guidelines that we've given them that regulate their activities, but also we encourage them. Those who have challenges, we are engaging them to see how we can resolve their difficulties. So it's a father-son approach, master-servant approach. So we're adopting all the necessary approach to ensure that investors are safe, that the vulnerabilities in the capital market that we inherited, we are able to, resolve these vulnerabilities and boost the capital market.
I like that you said compliance, because you keep hearing that in this country we have all these beautiful laws, but the problem is enforcement and compliance. What is the key or the biggest challenge with compliance in your sector? And since you took office, how many licenses have you maybe revoked because of non-compliance? Can you put a number to it?
Well, compliance is a very big deal in the financial sector. And so we have various tools and systems in place to deal with compliance issues. First, revocation of license is the last resort. We have penalties that we issue. For example, fund management companies are supposed to submit their financial statements and financial reports to us within a specific time. If we do not submit it within a specific time, we issue administrative penalties, and we charge them all the time. Okay? Then we have other conditions, such as we can condition your license. We can ask you to come and show cause as to why your license should not be revoked. So we have other administrative tools that we use before we get to revocation. Revocation is the last resort. And we are not the type who want to hasten to take over or to revoke anybody's license. We want to make sure that until your license has been revoked, we've given you all the opportunities, and that your company or your fund management company is at an irredeemable level. That one, there's nothing we can do about it. But our job is to ensure that we protect these companies, also to help them grow. Because, like you said, the capital market is a growing market. And so revocation today, tomorrow, sends some panic in the market.
So that's not your priority?
Sends some panic in the market as well.
I hear there are some concerns of people who they're getting slow processing of clients' funds by some licensed funds. That has come to your attention. What are you doing about it? What's causing the delay?
That's why I'm saying that we have a complaint session. So if any fund management company is not processing or honoring your redemption request, please write a formal complaint to the Securities and Exchange Commission. We will call them to come and answer. We have hearings all the time and how to do it. Sometimes, most of the issues have to do with other liquidity issue. The fund management companies also take their funds and invest in other instruments. And sometimes they other experience some challenges, with their investment, where they put the investment. And once you call on your request, they also have to call on where they've maybe invested the money to be able to pay you. And so sometimes it delays. There are other factors as well that has to do with liquidity issues with some of these fund management companies. It's normal. But if you place a redemption request, there's a specific period within which the fund management company is supposed to honor your request.
Yeah, but the complaints that I've seen is not about it has exceeded the timeline for
That's what I'm saying, that they should write officially to the SEC.
But is there some sort of investigation going on to understand why we're getting some of these complaints? Why they're slow processing? You've done something like that?
A lot of, we get complaints on a daily basis over these things. And when we get the complaints, we invite the people. We understand the situation. Some later get their money, okay? So
you treat it on a case-by-case basis?
Case-by-case basis. It's not just that tomorrow, no.
Is that sustainable?
It is.
If you're getting, let's say, 10, 15 complaints in a day that you're getting slow processing of funds, so they don't get access to their funds and the timeline has elapsed, you want to treat case by case for all 10 people on a daily basis?
Sometimes those complaints could be about one particular company. So maybe 10 complaints will come. It will be one company with different customers who have gone there. And so you're dealing with the same company on the same issue. So you summon the directors to come and answer questions as why they have not been able to honor those redemption requests. And so all these things are issues that we are working on strongly. And it's the reason why you have to resource us more.
So Tell them, this way they can hear you.
Yes, so that we'll be able to achieve some of these things for the people of this country. Yeah.
What's Ghana's position on crypto assets regulation? And do we have plans to actually regulate crypto?
It's part of the virtual asset bill that we're working on. Crypto is a virtual asset. It all falls under virtual assets. And so, yes, those who are interested in crypto and forex trading, very soon, all those things will be, there will be rules on how to be able to trade and engage in those activities in the country. But most importantly, there will also be development in terms of the infrastructure to be able to make it possible for us to monitor most of these issues. Because most of these issues, the critical concern has been the AML and CFT issues and compliance and the risk with fraudulent activities. And so the necessary measures are being put in place to ensure that these assets also become tradable in the country, because it's an emerging space globally. And I think that Ghana can benefit greatly from these tools as well. And so it's something that will soon be regulated in the country.
I mean, just this morning, we are reading that Bank of Ghana's policy rate is reduced, the biggest reduction we've seen since 2007. I think it's about 300 basis points. And now we're looking at 2025. I had a paper with me thereabouts. What does this mean for those who engage with you?
So, you see, this is how the financial system work. So like I said earlier, we have the money market. Now, for example, when the exchange rate, the dollar was 17 cedis, you realize that a lot of people were investing heavily in these money market instruments. Okay? They go and buy dollars and they keep. So that, because they anticipate that the dollar will keep going up. Now, dollar has come up to about 10 cedis. What this what this has done is that there is now no incentive for people to invest in the money market anymore. So now, where would that excess liquidity go? It will come to the capital market. Okay, it's the same with interest rate and what have you. And so that is why the capital market is very crucial. That is why we need to do the things we have to do to develop the market so that these alternative source of instruments are available. So to take advantage of some of these excess liquidity that will be created because of the reduction in interest rate, a reduction in the stability of the currency. Because now nobody wants to go and buy dollar. If I go and buy dollar today and tomorrow I go back and it's 9 cedis. But if a fund manager is promising me 15, 20% or something, which is better than what I would gain if I go and buy, let's say, a money market instrument or go and buy dollars. Why would I go and put my money in these instruments? And so that is how that affects the capital market. And so the potential for growth of the capital market is huge. It's there, especially as the economy stabilizes. It is the capital market that is in pole position to take advantage of that. And that's why we have to help the market develop. But not just develop, but create the pipelines through which these funds that find their way onto the capital market will flow through to SMEs, to businesses, and to invest, and to key government investments that will benefit the ordinary Ghanaian. And that is the work that we are doing.
What is the status? Well, do we still, I want to be educated, so I'm just going to ask a straight, open-ended question. What is the status of the locked-up investments and roadmap for redress?
So, I mean,
I know that some payments have been made. First or second batch of payments have been made. So what is the latest update on that? So,
I mean, for those who were able to validate their claims with PwC, AM Fund was able to pay them some amount of money.
What percentage?
Some amount of money.
Say AMCV,
AM Fund.
AM Fund.
AM Fund. So AM Fund was created to pay the people whose monies were locked up. Okay, it was created. So some monies were paid. This year, the Minister of Finance, because of its own fiscal policy, did not make allocation for payments for the next tranche. But we've begun talks to make allocation for them in next year's budget.
So for the rest of this year, if your money was locked up at some point, you're not getting paid?
Apart from those who did validation, okay, and have been able to get some, there's some part of the second tranche.
This year, somewhere February.
Yes, there's some part of the second tranche that is also being paid, okay? I think it's about 15% or so, yes. We got that update recently. But there is an additional funds that the Ministry of Finance have to release to the AM Fund for them to be able to, pay these people whose monies are locked up. Unfortunately, this year, the minister just went to Parliament last week. No provisions. I mean, there was no way the minister could have made provisions for that because of the tightening conditions that we are in, but there are discussions to make provisions for them in next year's budget, okay, and so which will be sent to Parliament in November. So in November, the people.
I can't imagine how those who are involved will be taking this news that if you didn't get clearance and you are not part of the second batch that payment is currently ongoing, you're not getting paid.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is one of the troubling situations that we witness. But again, if you ask for my personal position, it is not government's responsibility to pay people who have invested their money and their monies have locked up. That is not. I mean, it is unfair to use taxpayers' money to pay people whose funds have been locked up. It's unfair. Okay? The people who run these companies down, the directors, they have assets. We should be able to liquidate these assets to pay these people. These assets were taken over by the official liquidator. What happened to these assets? Because the sole purpose was to be able to liquidate these assets so we can pay. The initial money government has spent in this exercise, how much of it has government gotten back?
Sounds like you're saying government is doing them a favor by paying from its own coffers.
You see, that whole thing, that whole bailout was flawed. Okay? That whole bailout was flawed. But like I said, it's a legacy issue that you have inherited as a government. What do? You have to deal with it. Okay? And so it's a process that is ongoing. You cannot truncate the process in the middle. Okay? But we also believe in protecting the sanctity of the market. So let me end on that point. So what do? So we've sat down with the people who are, effecting this payment. We've sat down with the ministry. The ministry is the one who look at our capacity as a country and say, we can do this at this time, we cannot do that at this time. And we've explained to them that this year, unfortunately, government cannot make provisions. And so next year, in the next year's budget, government can make some provisions.
So that communication has been disseminated.
Yes, has been
people
disseminated.
Understand.
So that people don't panic. The government has a commitment to follow through the program. The government has that commitment. Okay. So they will be paid. Just that not this year, but in the subsequent years, government will make provisions and all of them will receive their funds. Mr.
Thompson, what do you want our audience to remember most from this interview? That's your final word. That the SEC is your friend. And for a lot of people who don't know more about the SEC, go to our website and learn more about the SEC. What's the web address?
www.sec.gov.gh. Go learn more about us and get our toll-free number. Let the toll-free number be on your dial list. Anytime you want to engage in any investment activity, somebody comes to you and say, give me money or do any activity, call the number. Mention the name of the company that has asked you to do an investment with them. Check if that company is licensed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. If that company is licensed, you can proceed to invest with them. If that company is not licensed or regulated, please and please save the little investment that you have. There are other instruments that you can put your money in, but seek clarification from the Securities and Exchange Commission.
And that there is Mensah Thompson, the Acting Deputy Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Thank you so much for coming, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, are you...